Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name's Zoe. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I really do hope that you decide to subscribe and also turn on that bell so you're notified every single time that I post. And if you're a current subscriber, like I always tell you, just check down below, make sure the bell is on, because YouTube doesn't like suggesting true crime content. So before jumping into today's video, I just want to let you know I am currently in my new house and it's echoey because all the rooms are quite empty, so I apologise if the audio is echoey or anything like that, but I'm sure we can get past this and just enjoy the video. Today's true crime video is my first video of this month that is relating to Halloween. I have a couple more lined up and I know I haven't been active at all the past couple of weeks, and that is because I have been moving, I've been on holiday, everything seems to have happened all at once, and I do apologise for that. I do want to be consistently uploading at least twice a week, so please don't lose faith in me, keep yourself subscribed and I will just make sure I have the best content coming your way. So as normal, you can find my disclaimer in the description box below. Today we are talking about Ronald Clark O'Brien, the man who killed Halloween. Ronald Clark O'Brien lived with his wife Diane, their two children Timothy and Elizabeth, and they all lived together in Deer Park in Texas. He worked at a local optician's and he was also a deacon for the Second Baptist Church in the area, where he sang in the choir. Halloween was a fun time for this family, as it was for any other family in the area and all throughout America. It was a time to dress up and get lots of sweets, but this was all about to change in 1974. On Halloween in 1974, Ronald had took his two children, 8-year-old Timothy and 5-year-old Elizabeth, out trick-or-treating in the local neighbourhood of Pasadena, Texas. Ronald's neighbour, Jim Bates, decided to go along with them with his younger son. It was a cold and wet Halloween, but the children were really excited, like all the children were every single Halloween. They were running from house to house getting their treats. They soon arrived to a house that had all the lights out, and as everybody knows, when you're trick-or-treating and the lights are out in a house, it usually means a person isn't taking part in the Halloween celebrations. They are not going to answer the door, or they're purposely not at home. The children were eager to knock on every single door, so they decided to knock on the door despite the owner probably not being home. Their father stood at the end of the path while the children ran up the path, knocked on the door, and of course there was no answer. Ronald told the children to run along to the next house with Jim, and he decided to stay at the house a little bit longer just in case anybody was inside. The children ran along to the next house, and a couple of minutes later Ronald caught them up, just like he said he would, and he was holding 5 pixie sticks. Ronald kept hold of these pixie sticks whilst the children carried on trick-or-treating. They had stayed out for a little while when the fathers decided it was time to go home. On their walk back home, Ronald gave one of the pixie sticks to a local 10-year-old boy that he had recognised from the local church, and then he split the other 4 pixie sticks between the children, so 2 for his own children, 2 for Jim's children. When the children were home and dry and all ready for bed, Timothy decided he wanted to eat some of his sweets. So he asked his father, and his father said he could pick one piece of candy. So Timothy decided to pick the biggest candy he had, the pixie stick. His father opened the tube for him, and Timothy tilted his head back and poured the powder into his mouth. It was meant to be sweet and really nice, but Timothy instantly complained about it being bitter, so his father gave him some Kool-Aid to wash the powder away. 8-year-old Timothy immediately started to complain about stomach pains. He ran to the toilet and started vomiting uncontrollably and convulsing. His dad called emergency services and claimed to hold Timothy in his arms whilst he vomited and had fits, until the little boy just went limp. Unfortunately, Timothy died on the way to the hospital. just 30 minutes since eating the pixie stick. His father had told police that he believed his son had been poisoned by the candy, and when police asked what candy he had eaten, that's when it was established that the pixie stick was the cause. When the autopsy came back, this also confirmed that the pixie stick was the cause. It also showed that the pixie stick contained a lethal dose of potassium cyanide. Police didn't think that close family were responsible for this murder. They wanted to find out if there was any more pixie sticks given out in the area, and they needed to find them quickly. When police had told the public that there was poison candy out there, all parents became frantic. They was handing in all the sweets that their children had received. The parents of the 10-year-old boy were hysterical when police warned them that their son could have one of them pixie sticks. They searched absolutely everywhere for it, firstly in all his sweets and his toys, and then they made their way to his bedroom, where they found their son lying in bed with the unopened pixie stick in his hands. Luckily it was unopened. The young boy had been unable to open the tube. It was later confirmed that the perpetrator had taken the seal off and opened the tube and filled it halfway with cyanide, and then they had stapled the top back together. So this meant that the 10-year-old boy had struggled to open the tube. Police had managed to locate all 4 of the tubes, unopened and unconsumed. Pathologists tested the pixie sticks and they confirmed that in the one that Timothy had eaten, there was enough cyanide in there to kill 2 full-grown adults. And in the other 4, there was enough to kill 3 or 4 adults. Ronald informed police that he had got these pixie sticks from one of the houses when he took his children trick-or-treating. But for some reason he couldn't remember which house. Now police started to grow suspicious of Ronald when Jim Bates actually told them that they had only gone to 2 streets worth of houses, so this wasn't a large number or a big area. So why couldn't he remember which house he had got the pixie sticks from? Suspicions grew when police had checked all the houses that the group had visited, and none of them had given out any pixie sticks. Police decided to let Ronald lead them to the house. They walked around the neighbourhood 3 or 4 times before coming across the unoccupied house that Ronald had visited with his children. Ronald told police that this was the house. He claimed that no lights were on, and when the person opened the door they didn't turn on any lights either. They just cracked the door a little bit and handed Ronald the 5 pixie sticks. He said all he could see of this person was an arm, and he described this arm as being hairy. Police immediately looked into who owned this home, and that's when they discovered it was owned by a man called Courtney Melvin. Now Courtney was actually an air traffic controller, and that night he had been at work till 11 p.m. So on Halloween he wasn't even home. So he couldn't give them children or Ronald the pixie sticks. And this blew Ronald's story right out of the water. Police started to look into Ronald and his home life, and during their digging they found out he was in debt. And not just a small amount either. He owed over $100,000 to different types of debt. They also discovered that Ronald could not hold down a job. Between 1964 and 1974, Ronald had 21 jobs. And at the time of his son's murder, Ronald was actually suspected of theft from his current place of work. His car and his home was about to be repossessed, and he had many different loans out with different banks. At the beginning of 1974, Ronald had actually took out life insurance policies on both his children. And 1 month before Timothy's murder, he took out 2 other policies on his children. And in the days before his son's death, he took out 2 further policies on his children. Ronald's wife didn't even have a clue that these policies were taken out on her own children. Police did discover that on the morning after Timothy's murder, Ronald had actually called these insurance companies trying to cash out the money. They also discovered that Ronald had visited a chemical supply store just days before Halloween, but he had left without purchasing anything. He had gone in, inquired about cyanide, and the highest amount he could buy was £5. But for some reason this wasn't enough for him, so he left. All this information together was enough to make police believe that Ronald had killed his own son. Now, despite not finding out when or where he had purchased the cyanide, they still believed they had a very strong case. They proceeded to arrest Ronald on suspicion of Timothy's murder on the 5th of November in 1974. Police believed he had laced the candy, gave them to his children to try and cash out on their death. It was also believed he handed out the other sweets to cover up his tracks. He was held on suspicion of 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. But Ronald vowed his innocence and pleaded not guilty to all 5 counts. During Ronald's trial, a friend of his actually testified against him. Now, he worked as a chemist and he said that Ronald had contacted him asking how much cyanide it would take to kill a person. Ronald had also contacted someone else asking how to purchase the cyanide. And his co-workers and friends said that Ronald had a growing obsession for cyanide. He was always talking about it and talking about how it can kill. Even his own family testified against him during his trial. They said at his own son's funeral, he talked about how he would spend the insurance money. He said he was going to spend it on gifts and vacations and all nice things. Even with all the evidence stacking against him, Ronald still protested his innocence. The case and the trial gained so much publicity. Lots and lots of people were watching this trial closely and keeping up with the case. It was the media that dubbed Ronald the Candyman. Now, normally this is just some sort of urban legend, but it is creepy to read something like this and see that there is some fact behind it. On the 3rd of June 1975, it took a jury 46 minutes to find Ronald Clark O'Brien guilty of capital murder and 4 accounts of attempted murder. The jury also took 71 minutes to come to the agreement that Ronald should get the death penalty. He was sent to and confined in the Huntsville unit in Huntsville, Texas. It was said that Ronald was scared and depressed because of his fellow death row inmates. Now, it isn't a secret that any sort of inmates in prison really aren't friendly to anybody who's hurt children. This is just the lowest of the low from them, and if you go to prison for hurting a child, whether it be murdering them, assaulting them, absolutely anything, the other inmates that you're with will not give you an easy ride. It was even reported that Ronald's fellow death row inmates actually put a petition together because they wanted to demonstrate on the day of his death, showing the whole world what hatred they had for him. Ronald had 4 different dates for his execution. The first, his lawyer managed to battle for stay of execution. The second was postponed. The third date was actually set for the 8-year anniversary of Timothy's death. The judge himself actually offered to drive Ronald from the prison to the execution chambers. But again, this was postponed, and a 4th date was set for the 31st of March in 1984. Ronald's lawyer was once again trying to appeal against this date. He was claiming that lethal injection was just too cruel. The judge rejected this, and shortly after midnight on the 31st of March 1984, Ronald Clark O'Brien was executed by lethal injection. In Ronald's final statement, he still claimed that he was innocent, and he also said, "I forgive all, and I do mean all, those who have been involved in my death. God bless you all, and may God's best blessings be always yours." Soon after her son's murder, Timothy's mother decided to divorce Ronald. she moved away from the area and she met a new man who she later married. And this man went on to adopt Elizabeth. And that is all we know about her life since the crime. Now that is all for today's true crime video. I have literally just realised at the end of this video that the angle is really bad. I am so sorry, I am no good at this YouTube thing. But I am doing my best with what I have, so yeah. That is all for this video. I really do hope that you liked this video. Please leave your suggestions for true crime videos down below, as I am always taking suggestions. Please give this video a big thumbs up. It's a free way you can help your girl out, and I shall see you in my next true crime video. Bye.